You are listening to the 2 and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Chris Jones. It is happening. It is happening, and I think...
Nothing's set in stone yet. There are still high school teams that can take him away at some point.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the 2 and Out CFL podcast.
Now they have to kick it out, and they do!
Every week, Travis Currah.
Does anybody still care about this podcast?
And Brazilian Ty.
Punters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Are you kidding? This is unbelievable!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are a part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. We hope you had yourself a Merry Christmas. We hope you're going to have a nice New Year. I'm Travis Currah. Brazilian Ty is here. And Ty, I got to ask you, do we need to have a gambling intervention live on 2 and Out?
I don't want to talk about it, but you want to get into it, we can get into it. I got absolutely pummeled yesterday.
I think that we could actually have a montage of you saying I'm never gambling again on the podcast.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the lesson is never learned. So what happened here? Come on.
When you get bucked off, you get right back up, right?
That's true.
You get right back on the horse. I got talked out of a couple bets and talked into a couple bad ones because I'm not strong enough to tell people that I don't want to listen to them. And
wow, that's actually kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, I lost $900 yesterday because
ooh,
people figured they were smarter than me. Turns out they were
wrong. Whoa.
And so then I get on to Bet 365 today, parlay the Falcons and Bengals money line, win that one. So I didn't lose all of my money yesterday. I log into my Bet Regal account. There's still money in there, and it's the only place I can find that I can bet on the World Juniors. So I have Sweden money line, Canada over 7 in regulation, and the States minus 2.5 against Slovakia.
I love this. Depending where you are, it might be about minus 40 with the wind chill of minus 45. So maybe you got a cold draft. If you've ever wondered what's really going on in your home, Roomy's Ask a Home Inspector service can help. You can connect with a certified professional home inspector by phone or video call, and they'll answer your questions. Roomy will let you know what's easily fixable with a little DIY, or when you might need to call in some professional help. Visit roomy.ca, that's RUMI.ca, and book your Ask a Home Inspector appointment today.
In the Huddle with Currah and Ty on the 2 and Out podcast.
Ty, we are just 2 weeks after the Grey Cup, but the news has come fast and furious. So let's first go back in time a little bit. CFL All-Stars were announced after the Grey Cup game. No real surprises there. The Bombers are all over that sheet, especially in the trenches. 3 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen. Yeah, and that's where games are won and lost, and the Bombers showing us that that's true.
The only thing that kind of stands out is the fact that the league sack leader isn't on this list.
Yeah, that's very fair. AC Leonard, it has to be punishment for the 3-game suspension, right? And I get it,
maybe,
but
yeah.
The Andrew Harris didn't get much punishment for his situation. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. I know coming from me that wears the green and white underwear, it sounds like sour grapes, but that's that's the reality of it right now. He's just going to have more to prove next year, that AC Leonard of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
How many Roughriders are on this list?
You know what? That is actually a great point.
Yeah,
None.
There's none.
And there's 2 Ottawa Red Blacks.
Yeah. I mean, granted, one's a punter.
Yeah. He was pretty busy this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to put up numbers when you're doing it 20 times a night.
Yeah, and the Riders made it to the West Final and took Winnipeg right to the limit, and no All-Stars. Mm-hmm. Just a scrappy group they were all year. Let's go back to the East Final, where we didn't really get into this because we had a Grey Cup to talk about, but that big brouhaha, whatever the heck you want to call it, after the Argos lost to the Ticats. The big thing here is, I think, the BMO Field design, where players basically have to walk through the concourse and the fans are kind of right up to the rail. At the same time, like when I say that out loud, why are fans instigating that kind of stuff in the first place?
I have no problem with the fans being there, but there is somewhat of a contract that you need to follow some rules that are set in place for obvious reasons.
Exactly. And I mean, if you're dumb enough to throw beers and do whatever at, you know, an athlete
without Patrick Currah backing you up, I mean,
at an athlete that's probably bigger than you, angrier than you after a tough loss, and in full equipment. Like, come on.
Like you're going to throw a punch at a dude wearing a helmet? Enjoy the hospital visit? A broken hand and a couple weeks off of work?
So I do think that a couple fans were handed trespassing tickets.
As they should.
Chris Edwards.
Oh, boy.
That's 6-game suspension. That's
salary cap
harsh.
Relief is what it is.
A third of a season.
Yeah.
And you can, I guess, try to find the videos for that on Facebook. He basically did crawl out into the concourse, up under the stand. So, I mean, yeah, that can happen. John
Play
Murphy.
stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? But, I mean, do I blame Chris Edwards? To a point. But, I mean, you're only going to take so much.
Yeah.
Whether it be verbal abuse, you know, guys throwing beers at you and stuff, like at some point it's going to boil over. So, I mean, 6 games, I don't think that he is too surprised. I don't think anybody's too surprised, considering he's the one that went into the stands after the game. But I mean, the league has to do something. But at the same time, I mean, there needs, I think, we're going to see changes to, maybe not the design of BMO, but some rules, and you know, maybe that becomes a family section where there is no booze or something like that, because we have those around the league as well.
John Murphy let go.
That's a shame.
It's more. I think it's more about what he said than what he did. And again, you can find videos of that. And McLeod Bethel Thompson also fined. His situation was a little bit different.
It was just being a crybaby.
Cameraman trying to get in, get the shot of the losing quarterback, and he was getting shoved away by MBT. All around, just a rough situation.
Not a good. Like, it makes them look like sore losers, and I mean, the McLeod Bethel Thompson one definitely is him being a sore loser. But that Chris Edwards one, I mean, I think win or lose, if Hamilton fans are doing that regardless, I think he's only going to take it for so long.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the schedule a little later. Might as well just do it now. I kind of wondered if that situation was going to have an effect on the schedule. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But Hamilton and Ottawa, or Hamilton and Toronto, are playing 4 more times again. So that rivalry, it's just going to stay heated, and with both teams good, that adds to the fire. You almost need one of the teams to suck.
Yeah. I mean,
but
that, like, you can't really call it a rivalry if one team is just going to get run over in every game, but that isn't what's happening here, and that just makes these games more important in the schedule. If they're going to play 4 times, well, It's like, well, I don't know what the league is expecting to happen, because I think we all know what's going to happen come, that fourth game, and then when they meet in the playoffs again, probably.
So they got a preseason game at BMO June 3rd.
Perfect. That's what they need. Yeah, is to play 5 games,
and then
possibly
August
6.
Wow. See, I know there are a lot of fans that they want the schedule to be more balanced, and it looks like the league's going with the unbalanced thing again. I don't know if it to save the travel costs like they did this year, but I kind of like the fire that happened. I don't think the off the field stuff should happen, but the on field stuff, I love it. These two teams are having a home and home in August. And then,
again,
they play 3 times in August, and then they play on Labor Day. They play 4 out of 5 weeks.
There's only 9 teams, so I know it gets tough, and it looks like it's tough to get. I guess it's tough to not get bored with the schedule sometimes, right? Like, it seems like you're playing didn't we just play these guys a couple weeks ago? But that's literally what is happening for last season and now this next season coming up. And you're not seeing everybody in every stadium, which I don't like. Every other league does it except for the NFL, obviously, just because of the schedule and there's less games and there are teams. But, you see every other team at least once. You get to see, players the league is trying to sell. Now, granted, do you really want to go to an Ottawa game? Probably not right now. But no, just because they weren't very good. The same could be said for the Elks.
I get what you're saying.
When they're on the road, right? They're not going to be a huge draw when they're not playing well, but I don't like it.
The diehards love to see that, but compare a Saskatchewan-Toronto game at Mosaic against a Saskatchewan-Calgary game at Mosaic.
Oh, for
it's
sure.
Not even because everybody gets up for those games more. Yeah. And I was fine with the Stamps and the Riders playing those 3 games in October last year. To me, it just has more.
It happened to work out that they
it.
meant something, though, too.
That's fair. And on paper, it looks boring. But I think when the games actually happen, I'm like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah, I would the schedule is already division heavy just because it has to be.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally fine with. I think you should be playing more games inside your division, and they do. I still think, though, that everybody should be playing the other. If you're going to have common opponents outside your division, that they all have to be the same number of teams or the same number of games against the same teams.
Yeah, it would work better if the Schooners were in, because then I still think I would like.
Then you don't even need divisions if you do that, which I'm totally behind.
But even then, I would, if they did 10 against the West versus West, and then 5 against 8 against outside your division, and then you get to, I would like to see that, but who knows? The schedule is out. Start making your holiday plans, although...
if you're allowed.
Well, I was going to say, who knows? I'm not predicting this pandemic anymore.
No.
Take it day by day. That's all, hour by hour sometimes.
entire tournaments and Olympic trials are getting canceled right now, so let's pump the brakes on going all out next year.
Let's talk about some of the front office stuff with teams. There was some rumblings during Grey Cup week that Orlando Steinauer might have been looking at a defensive coordinator job at the University of Washington. Well, he's staying in the Hammer, and he's actually expanding his role. He's also the head coach and president of football operations with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Ty, I don't know about you, I haven't really been seeing all this much talk about this. But Ed Hervey is now the assistant general manager and senior advisor to the president of football operations in the Hammer. They've still got quite the staff there, and it shows on the field.
Just don't let him do anything with salaries. You should be okay.
That went kind of weird in BC. It sure did.
Yeah, it went a little sideways.
So he's working his way back in. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guys that have been with their respective teams for a long time, and a lot of them got interviews. I think of Neil McAvoy, Ryan Rigmaiden in BC, Ted Govia in Winnipeg. He was getting talked to. There's been a lot of shuffling. But let's talk about the Lions right now, where Ryan Phillips has been promoted to defensive coordinator in BC. And, man, that guy is just synonymous with BC Lions. Mm-hmm. Played there for years, has been coach there, defensive backs coach last year. Rick Campbell was calling the defense. Now Ryan Phillips is the defensive coordinator for the BC Lions. Of course, he's very familiar with that franchise, with that stadium, with those fans.
With playing defense, like an all-star. Like, I mean, not a terrible guy to be on your staff and calling plays.
Yeah, and that'll take some off of Campbell's plate as well, right?
Oh, for sure. It'll make it a lot easier for him to, manage the game from that head coach position.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ryan Rigmaiden ends up getting promoted in BC. I guess he's going to be the assistant GM, player personnel. They got all of director of player personnel. They got all of these fancy titles now, but part of the reason...
Nobody knows what any of those mean.
I know. Part of the reason is because G. Simon is going to Edmonton to join Chris Jones. It is happening. It is happening.
Hey,
and I think...
Nothing's set in stone yet. There are still high school teams that can take him away at some point.
So Chris Jones back in Edmonton, he'll be running the defense. He'll be running the head coaching. He'll be the GM. G. Simon, the assistant GM there. Look, Jones said all the right things in his press conference, and Edmonton fans, many of them, still burned. I heard a guy calling into a radio show saying, yeah, my season tickets are canceled now. Well... Come on.
So they make a change, but they don't make the change that he wants.
Yeah, come on. Can we really look at Chris Jones' track record versus Brock Sunderland's?
Brock Sunderland took a Grey Cup winning roster and dismantled it.
Okay, now I know that Chris Jones only has a short time as a general manager in Saskatchewan. I get that. And he burned Edmonton by leaving like the day after winning a Grey Cup title. He took the entire coaching staff with him to go to Saskatchewan. So memories are long in Edmonton. I understand that. But I also think if there's a guy that's going to be starting a roster from scratch.
Yeah. He's got to be top 3 guys that you would want in that position.
Yeah, he makes the tough decisions. I know in Saskatchewan, when his tenure started, a lot of angry fans. A lot. And the first season was rough, but then after that, wow, competitive team.
Yep.
And he left them as well to go to he went to Cleveland first. Yeah. And
how'd that work?
Saskatchewan didn't really drop off all that much. No. Craig Dickinson probably wasn't, let's face it, their first choice as head coach, but he just slipped right into the role. O'Day took over as GM, and things have still been going pretty well
consistent
in Saskatchewan.
Losing the West Final is consistent.
Yeah. Hey, they got the home playoff win, so...
Yeah, got that monkey off their back.
I think with bringing G-Roy in, I think fans, maybe that's a sense of security a little bit, because if Jones ditches after 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, G-Roy steps right in, and maybe they got a plan there for a little bit of continuity in the front office. But Jones has signed a 4-year deal. in his press conference, he basically said, I want to build a legacy like John Hufnagel and Wally Buono. He's in his 50s, wants to calm down with the moving a little bit. But he also basically said, all I can do is give you my word, and if you take it or you don't, so be it.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know. Like, money talks, so we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Exactly. Like, who knows? I can't see. I'm just throwing a random team out there. Maybe somebody that Ty doesn't hate. You know, the San Diego Chargers come in and
they're not
they
even
say,
in San Diego.
Oh, L.A. Chargers. They come in and then they say, hey, you want to come be our DC? Yeah, he'll go, you know?
Oh, wouldn't you? Live in L.A. compared to Edmonton?
Well, okay, when you compared it to Edmonton.
Oh, sorry. You take Blackfalds over L.A.?
Hey, if I gotta walk around eating nothing but organic food and White Claws, I'll pass, thanks.
Not a lot of good barbecue joints.
Hey, I do like tacos, though. They got a lot of those in that area of California. And the food trucks in Los Angeles? Okay, maybe we're onto something here.
Yeah. You can wear shorts all year round. Well, you do anyway, but...
That's true. One point, though, the players love Chris Jones. At least the defensive
when
guys.
they have a roster spot.
Yeah. Like, the Jones guys love him. Like, more than any other coach I've seen, they fiercely defend him. And fans aren't in the locker room. They aren't really at practice. And these guys love playing for him, and that makes it seem like a good football move to me.
Oh, I think so. I think this is going to help getting guys to come to Edmonton. Other teams, like the other teams can't sign everybody. Like Edmonton's going to get players. It's just, can they get those big names to come and start to build a bit of a foundation there and get back to winning? Because if they go another year like they had this season, I mean, I don't know how much patience Elks fans are going to have. You know, like if they go 4-14, are they going to? I don't think they would turn on Jones that quick, but you never know. That team was so good for playoff team for so long, and then just basically get their hearts ripped out this year. He's got to turn it around quick, and I think, like you said, players wanting to play for him is going to be huge, especially come free agency.
Well, we'll see if he treats it like his first year in Saskatchewan, where it was just extended training camp.
Get rid of all the fan favorites. Not that there's a lot of them left in Edmonton, but
I mean, like basically a different defense every single week until he got the right, combination that worked for him. The fake practice rosters, Maybe he's learned from that experience. I don't know.
He just learned how to get sneakier.
Yeah. Chris Jones gets fans talking, so I think that's also exciting for the CFL.
I mean, Terry Jones is going to have something to write about every week, which is just great. But
in Ottawa, we've got a new general manager there as well. Maybe not as much of a polarizing character, but Sean Burke is now GM in
pretty
Ottawa.
Polarizing when you let Forsberg put you on a stamp, are you not? Oh, no, that was Hirsch. Never mind. Fooled myself with that joke, didn't I?
The goalie reference. I love it. So Burke was in Hamilton for nearly 15 years, and he just worked so hard, got his way to the top. Like, this is a guy that the work ethic, his familiarity with the CFL, and, I mean, the organization that the Ticats have become. Pretty consistent, and I get it. When the championships aren't there, it's pretty tough, but they've been able to keep a good core together, a competitive core together, and Ottawa really wants to do that as well. And Burke has been doing some of that work with Hamilton for years.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that roster. He knows, like, if a player becomes, like, there's going to be lots of free agents. There is every year. He's going to be able to scoop guys up from Hamilton and put them in positions to succeed there as well. You know, and he's been around the league, like you said, long enough that he knows all these guys. Like, it's not going to be that hard for him to find talent. I think the problem's going to be getting him to come to to Ottawa, just because it's been kind of desolate for the last 2 years.
It starts with the quarterback, and it does appear that they'll have some options this offseason. We'll get to that right away here. The Bombers do keep their front office intact, which is just great news for the rest of the CFL. Danny McManus and Ted Govia were both sought after this interviewing process between Edmonton and Ottawa. I did hear that kind of McManus, who's the assistant GM and director of U.S. scouting, kind of wants to keep that U.S. Part of his job and to kind of stay down there.
Don't forget that Mike O'Shea turned down even talking to Edmonton.
That's true. Ted Govia he's the assistant GM and director of player personnel, was a finalist for the job in Edmonton. So they've got some guys in that front office, and why not? But I think the big thing with Winnipeg was keeping these guys together. The first couple years when this regime came, it wasn't good. Well, at least they were trying to build something. And they played the long game, and now they're back-to-back Grey Cup champions. Yeah,
it's obviously working. If it's not broke, don't fix it. You're not going to stop guys. Well, I don't think technically you can if it's a job that is, a promotion technically in another franchise. But if those guys don't get the job, if you're going to block somebody, they're probably going to be pissed. If you let them go, they're more likely going to come back and, notice the grindstone and try again next year. But, they still have a job to do. When you're in a team, you want to win. So, like you said, this group has been together. They've been together for a long time now, and they built it from nothing. It feels like. So
absolutely
right, and like you said, back to back, probably a good shot of them going back again, depending on how this offseason goes. We saw them basically re-sign all their starters last year. There's no reason they can't do it again unless everybody wants substantial pay raises. And obviously guys want to play for O'Shea and play for that franchise.
Yeah, and that's where the potential free agent list comes in, where, 80-85% of the league is
it's longer than
free agent.
Players that are under contract.
Yeah, so it's not really worth going through everything in there. And I've seen some rumblings of people saying, well, Winnipeg could be decimated by free agency. That's what we all thought after 2019. And that's why the job that Kyle Walters has done has been remarkable. Being able to keep basically all of those guys together 2 years in a row. And you said it. After a championship, these guys want raises. And after all those all-stars, they're going to want more money. So,
but, if they want to take a hometown discount, it only works if everybody does it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to shell out big money for Collaros. They got the relief for Andrew Harris, and they had, Oliveira and Augustine were pretty damn good this year. Like everything just kind of worked out for them. I don't know if it can happen for the third year in a row. But if guys want to stay, they'll find a way.
Yeah, you can't tell me that Collaros isn't going to be looking for, Grey Cup MVP, MOP, Grey Cup champion.
That Grey Cup MVP could be disputed. It should have an asterisk that he shouldn't have won it.
And he knows that, how valuable he is to the Bombers. If they go into that game, and I realize without the kicker they don't win the game, but if they go in with Sean McGuire, they're not winning that game either.
No.
So
no.
And there's a lot of hard decisions they're going to be made by teams. Like, what's Hamilton doing? They're going to have to pick a number one.
And I think it's going to be Dane.
That's kind of where I'm leaning here. Like, if you have a 1A and 1B quarterback, that only works for the length of those guys' contracts.
Yeah,
because when
you can't re-sign them both. You can't.
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So Dane Evans, Jeremiah Mazzoli, Zach Collaros, they're pending free agents. I mean,
Trevor Harris is a free agent.
Yes, Montreal releasing Trevor Harris and then extending Vernon Adams Jr. and Geno Lewis.
None of that surprised anybody, I don't think.
Yeah, he was just
Montreal.
trying to... Yeah, and it ended up all right for them.
Yep.
Got them to where they needed to go and finish the season in a competitive way.
And gave him that opportunity to, get reps with receivers that would actually catch the football for him and make him look good.
That's true. Show that he could still play. So does he just end up a few hours from Montreal in a place that he's pretty familiar with? I mean, Ottawa's got some options here.
Yeah, and I don't think you go out and sign a bunch of receivers and everything without getting your quarterback first. I think that's where you got to start. So I don't know where they go, but I don't see them doing a lot before they get a quarterback. But that would be, not only is he familiar, they're familiar with him.
Yeah.
They know.
McLeod Bethel Thompson's also a pending free agent. So.
Yeah. Weird. They'll re-sign him and then cut him in camp.
Toronto could just go pay Collaros like they've been signing everybody else.
Yep, that is fair. It's either going to be a complete schmozzle or everybody's just going to kind of stay where they are and Harris finds somewhere to go. And Masoli and Dane, whichever one of them doesn't get signed, they find a spot and teams are going to figure it out. But I don't think we're going to see teams throw that $750,000 contract at quarterback again. I don't think you can.
No. We saw what it did to BC.
Yeah. Do you want to win or do you want to get paid?
Yeah. This year they were... Well, I'd like to say this year they were more competitive for a while, and then it just kind of fell apart.
It catches up to you.
Yeah, and Campbell's second year there, we'll see if they're able to fix some stuff going into 2022. But a lot of times the quarterback thing, it gets really hyped going into free agency, and then a lot of times guys just kind of stay put. Yeah. So if we kind of look at the teams that have a set quarterback, I mean, I don't think Saskatchewan is looking to replace Fajardo. They might look for a veteran guy to put some pressure on him. Yeah. So Fajardo is set. Vernon Adams Jr. is set. I think Riley is still set. It depends if he wants to continue
his arm falls off.
Yeah, and I think Bo is still set, and I know a lot of people are looking at Jake Mayer as a possible guy. But this happens so many times where somebody starts 4 games and, he had 300 yards passing, but...
Also, nobody has any film on him.
Yeah. When he's the guy, that changes things a lot for you. So
teams, it's easier to prepare for a guy that you have film and have had reps against and, have seen.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback to anoint him the starter for a franchise.
Yeah, they tried that with Nick Arbuckle, and now he's just kind of bounced around. When Bo went down, like, oh, no, yeah, he's going to start. And then, he started. He was great because nobody had really seen him. Leaves, becomes a starter, just doesn't work out.
Yeah, and is that the best quarterback that Chris Jones has ever had on one of his teams, other than Mike Riley back then in Edmonton?
Yeah. Wow.
Because if they had a quarterback on those Saskatchewan teams or an offense that could move the ball, they would have been dominant. Like their defense outscored their offense. If the defense wouldn't have
to play 45 minutes a night.
They outscored the offense.
Yeah. What does Edmonton do? Like, Is it really a competition between Arbuckle and Cornelius?
Well, that's up to Jones now.
Yeah, or are neither one of them going to be there now?
I don't think any of those options are off the table.
No.
Now, the NFL window is back open officially. John Hodge detailed this on 3downnation.com, and I'm a fan of this. Basically, any player under contract, not just pending free agents, are able to work out in the NFL between December 13th and February 8th. The only exception is if a player is owed a roster bonus during this window, then they aren't allowed to go work out, but they can get around this rule maybe by deferring the bonus payments until after February 8th. And I just think this is good for players and good for teams because, of course, these players should be allowed the opportunity to go work out and make more money and make as much money as they can. And I believe that the teams should be able to still have their rights even. And
that is one thing that I do like is that they can't just, sign that NFL contract and then come back to a different team.
Yeah. So a CFL team doesn't have to release them and they go work out and whatever happens, they come back and sign with a different team. They're going to stay with their original team. So I do like that. I do like that NFL window. There have been some key extensions already. Trey Roberson staying in Cowtown. The Argos extending offensive lineman Darius Bladek, making him the second highest paid offensive lineman in the league. I know some Rider fans wanted him back there.
Yep.
And for good reason. Stephen Flintoff, the punter, staying in BC. Jorgen Hughes, the long snapper. Keenan LaFrance, running back. Canadian special teamer, staying in Saskatchewan. And your boy, Aaron Grimes, staying in Edmonton with the Elks for another 2 seasons. Of course, I'm going to say...
Not saying anything.
I'm saying with Chris Jones back in there, I don't know what any of those contracts really mean.
Yeah, it's...
Maybe he's a different guy now, but I don't know.
Oh, okay. Are you saying people change?
Well, the amount of times you said you're not gambling anymore, and...
Huh. Exactly.
Oh, there's a lot to look forward to.
How'd your Christmas dinner go?
Oh, it was actually good. It was actually good.
Oh, that's no fun.
I know. I hyped it up and...
Yeah. Then it was just a squash match.
Yeah, it was the hyped up quarterback carousel, and it ended up being really peaceful and calm. I like it.
It's a hyped up Team Canada Olympic roster announcement where Nat Dominichelli maybe, because nobody's going.
And now you don't get to see McDavid and McKinnon on the same team, and oh well.
Man, I don't even think the camera could keep up with that.
Yeah. It's maybe it's for the best. Maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, I like the players not going because it means that they're not going to break their leg and be out for a stretch run.
Yeah.
Especially when McDavid is your old team.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
This episode of Two and Out is brought to you by ATB Financial, and with ATB Cares, giving is easy. Donate through ATB Cares, and ATB will match 20% of every dollar donated to eligible Albertan charities, maximizing the impact of your donation. Visit atbcares.com to choose your cause and donate today. There it is, the last Two and Out podcast of 2021. There's a lot to look forward to in 2022. Of course, if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. I mean, let's not count our chickens. Like, I might go back to work. I might be able to. We'll see what happens.
Okay, we'll see what happens. There we go.
I also had a vegetable yesterday.
A vegetable? What kind was it?
It was like a couple bites of mashed potatoes, so it was really just a starch.
Never change, man. Never change.
I'm going to have to at some point.
You should see my table right now.
Is it just full of sugar?
Oh, I see 12 peanut butter cups. I see a jar full of Reese's Pieces, Kit Kats, Bueno chocolate bars, Ferrero Rochers, mini eggs, and this does not include the homemade baking, the haystacks, the ginger snaps, the Eat More bars, the Rice Krispie squares, the peanut butter marshmallow things. Dude, this is not going to go well for me.
Do you have any enamel bars?
No, I don't.
Oh,
those are really hard to make, so I don't blame my mom for that.
I just buy them at M&M.
Yeah, they're good to buy, but not good because they destroy a tray in 20 minutes.
Or you mean the box?
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Christmas pounds at least are worth it, because so far they're worth it for me. And I got to go open up a can of Coke.
Well, we need this Christmas weight put on with this cold snap.
Yeah, we do. That's
this
true.
Hasn't been fun.
It's just survival.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Happy New Year from 2 and Out. Thanks for sticking with us in 2021, and we'll talk to you January 10th.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.